Scott Ponder was the quintessential Southern charmer, a local boy with a penchant for fast bikes who spun his passion for Suzukis into a thriving local business in Spartanburg, South Carolina.
He was the type that would take $5 and turn it into $50 and take $50 and turn it into $500.
He had a fantastic mind. The dealership actually started that January of that year. It just kept growing and growing.
And it was a family affair that even brought Scott's mom into the fold.
She would take deposits to the bank, just anything that she could do to help. She just enjoyed the privilege of being around her son.
Superbike Motorsports became a thriving haven for racing enthusiasts in a part of South Carolina known for its wide-open roads, all with the help of mechanic Chris Sherbert and Scott's best friend, Brian Lucas.
Brian had quit his job and started working just for Scott. He loved Scott.
It was a good life, and for Scott and his wife, Melissa, it was all about to get better.
We were actually in my hometown at my brother's home, and I didn't tell anybody. I had run into the drugstore, grabbed a pregnancy test, took a pregnancy test, and started screaming in the bathroom because I was so excited about it. Scotty got a big smile on his face. I love that he knew this baby was coming.
But all that joy would come to a screeching halt when Scott showed up to his store one afternoon.
That day, I had talked to him at maybe 2:15. He called me, and it was a normal, well, I'll see you later. I love you, bye. That was the last time I talked to him.
It was a slow day at the shop.
Brian wasn't even supposed to be there that day. He had the day off. He was going away with his family for a long weekend and was called in just minutes before because there was a customer that something had not been done to his motorcycle, and the customer was upset.
That disgruntled customer would prove to be a crucial clue. While Scott was talking with him, a friend named Noel called the shop to see if he could drop by. He was only 7 minutes away. All the time it took for Scott to hang up the phone, for someone to open fire at everyone in the shop.
All this happened within that amount of time. Noel said when he came up, he thought that Scott and Brian were playing a trick on him. He said he actually kicked Brian, to try to tell him, okay, guys, that's a good trick.
He quickly realized it was no laughing matter.
His mama's been shot, the mechanic's been shot, and the owner.
Whoever done the murders shot everybody in the chest and the head point blank.
A massacre in broad daylight. Mechanic Chris and Mom Beverly were shot point blank in the back of the building. Scott and Brian are also shot in the storefront and parking lot in their attempt to escape. All four would die from their injuries. Word would make its way to Scott's wife, Melissa.
I got a phone call on my cell phone, and it was one of his vendors, and she said, I'm trying to get up to the dealership, and I can't get there. There's a huge blockade of law enforcement. And she said, I'm hearing little things that there might have been a shooting. Immediately, I start calling him and call and call. I would call his cell phone. Well, it was shut off. I couldn't register that at the time until I looked up at one of our family friends who was standing there, and the tears were rolling down his face. And as soon as I saw the tears rolling down his face, I knew that this was real.
A brutal quadruple murder that claimed the lives of Superbike Motorsports owner Scott Ponder, his best friend Brian Lucas, mother Beverly Guy, and mechanic Chris Sherbert. But who wanted them dead? It's a question that would baffle police. The last recorded customer at the Superbike dealership claimed that there was one other person waiting around the shop on the day of the killings.
He is saying he was at the shop. He saw a person who had on a leather coat. It was a rather warm day, and he was looking at a motorcycle. He acted like he'd never had any motorcycle experience.
Whoever that was is believed to have been the shooter.
But months would pass, and then 13 years with no leads to a real face or name to match the sketch of the man seen in the shop. An investigator's worst nightmare.
I think this person does this for a living, and they're not going to quit.
With no leads in sight, some mysterious missing persons cases were about to unleash more connections in Spartanburg than detectives in this small town could ever imagine. A married couple with a drug history had vanished. At first, law enforcement wondered whether addiction may account for their disappearance. But a year later, a local bartender named Kayla Brown and her boyfriend Charlie Carver also go missing. In addition to bartending, Kayla worked odd jobs cleaning properties for a local real estate agent named Todd Colehep.
Hello. How you doing?
Doing well.
A normal-seeming business leader, Colehep tells detectives Kayla and Charlie were hired to clear brush on his farm the day they disappeared.
Several of the questions that we asked you, okay, are inconsistent with what phone records said.
He tells investigators they were only on his farm for 90 minutes, but cell phone records tell a different story.
She was on your property for more than an hour, hour and a half. Okay. She was on your property for several hours. That's a conflict.
And when they discover that Todd is a registered sex offender because of an Arizona juvenile kidnapping and rape conviction, they get warrants for his home and farm simultaneously.
Would you say that she was only there an hour, hour and a half, when she was there pretty much the whole afternoon? Okay.
I don't have an answer for you, sir.
While police question Todd at his home, another team raids his farm looking for clues about Kayla or Charlie. What they discover instead, locked inside a Connex container, shakes them to their core.
What? You okay? Go. You have any weapons? Coming through, okay?
Gotcha. How are you, honey? This is bolt cutters. This is our investigator. He's a paramedic.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we're going to get you out of there, okay?
Just hang loose for me.
Do you know where your buddy is?
Charlie?
Yes.
He shot him.
He shot him?
Who did?
Douche.
Todd Colehep shot Charlie Carver 3 times in the chest, wrapped him in a blue tarp, put him in the bucket of the tractor, locked me down here, and I never seen him again.
Okay.
He says he's dead and buried. He says there's several bodies dead and buried out here, and he says that the dogs will be ruined if they go looking because there's red pepper.
Sheriff's office.
Sheriff searching Todd's farm.
Are you okay?
Find Kayla alive and in chains.
How are you, honey?
In a shipping container where Colehep had been keeping her alive as his sex slave after murdering her boyfriend in front of her. Body cameras capture the stunning moments and candid confessions.
Todd Colehep shot Charlie Carver 3 times in the chest, wrapped him in a blue tarp, put him in the bucket of the tractor, locked me down here, and I never seen him again.
Minutes later, they also capture Colehep at home.
You have Kayla in your property. She was locked in a container, okay? She has told us that you shot and killed Charlie. You're under arrest right now for kidnapping. If you want to help yourself, tell me where Charlie's at so we can go find his body.
But Cole Hepp, a textbook psychopath, does his best to maintain control.
So you're saying you didn't lock her up, you didn't put her in the Connex box or anything?
I'm gonna need that charge.
Probably a good thing. Go ahead and put him in the back of your car.
As Kayla is being driven to a local hospital, her harrowing story continues.
He didn't know if he was going to kill me or sell me or what yet, but he just wanted me for some reason.
Then an unbelievable, stunning moment.
He also told me that a few years back that he walked into a bike shop in Anderson.
Kayla unwittingly breaks open another case investigators had been chasing for 13 years.
Walked into a bike shop in Anderson and shot 4 people and left, and they never found out who did it. He liked to brag that he was a serial killer and a mass murderer.
Once detectives have Cole Hepp under a microscope in a private room, he proudly spills it all himself.
I cleared that door in under 30 seconds. You guys would have been proud. I'm sorry, but you guys would have been proud.
In a bid to avoid the death penalty and transfer his assets to his mother, Cole Hepp cops to the 2003 massacre of the 4 employees at the Superbike dealership.
It totally caught me off guard. I never, in my wildest dreams, he was not somebody who was on my radar screen.
I really felt like I didn't have much hope that this case would ever be solved.
Cole Hepp stumbled upon the Superbike dealership less than 2 years after returning to Spartanburg, following a 14-year juvenile prison sentence for kidnapping and raping his neighbor when he was 15. He thought a motorcycle would be a fresh start to a new life.
He had bought a bike about a year ago. Someone had stole it, and then they come back in, and they were pranksters, Scott and Brian was. And they asked the man, "You gonna buy another bike so it can get stolen too?"
He felt like they were making fun of him.
That was all it took to return and kill everyone in the shop, leaving that sketch behind as a clue that ultimately never matched to his face. But Todd liked to brag to Kayla about other murders.
He had another guy who would bring his girlfriend with him. He was going to let her go, but she pissed him off, so he shot her in the back of the head. He said he buried her somewhere on the land, too.
When the sheriff searched Todd's farm, they also find the remains of another missing couple near the body of Kayla's boyfriend, Charlie.
The land is supposed to be my
sanctuary.
Yeah, not a killing field.
Right.
It was supposed to be the place where I go to relax and get away from people and not deal with this.
Thanks to Kayla's bravery, Spartanburg's own serial murderer is locked away for good.
Other than the boy in Arizona and Superbikes and the ones that we have on the property, have you killed anybody else?
Is that enough?
No, this is the thing. No, this is the thing.
But while the extraordinary young survivor grapples with survivor's guilt,
You get to live through it. The rest of it.
That you get to live.
How is that fair?
the family of Cole Hepp's victims think of her as their hero.